Hello, class. This is Professor Bold, and I am coming to you from another screencast. And the screencasts only last about 15 minutes. I've been debating on how to be sure that you are getting the information that you need. We do this a couple of different ways. Each week, we have the PowerPoint, we have videos, we have the readings, we have quizzes. There's a lot of different ways that you can learn in an online class. What I'm coming to realize is that perhaps PowerPoints for this particular class may be best utilized as a guide. It's great for an introduction. It's great for brief learning opportunities and overviews of different concepts, but to review an entire PowerPoint might be not the best way to go about it. Sorry, I clicked off there for a second, but so what I'd like to do is this will may or may not be the last PowerPoint that I voice over. I voiced over a couple of others in the first couple of weeks. This one I'm going to just swing through it very quickly and give you some very fast highlights. What I'd like for you to do is tell me what your questions are, and then let's use those as a learning moment or a teachable moment. And if you have questions as you're reading along in the text or something that you feel we need to really talk about and hash through, email me and then I can respond maybe to your questions on video. Let's try it that way. And or another way, either email, or if I think the whole class needs to know about what we're talking about, then I might do another video. I won't, maybe not always video what your question is about, but I think that might be a good way to try this. I've been teaching online for about 5 years now, and it changes, and our world is changing, and we don't have as much time as we used to. So I want to take this time to make the most of what you can learn. And one of the things that came to my attention when I was looking at this particular chapter is that there are some great videos of people who are the experts in some of these areas. So you'll find that a couple of the people, especially with conflict management, have their own videos. And so I've posted some of those. And I want you to be sure that you're utilizing all the materials in this class for your learning experience. Because really what we want to do is make sure that you're getting the material. The first best way to do that is read. This course text is an easy read, and actually it's kind of a fun read because it's got a lot of great examples, and it just sort of rocks right through some real life situations that you're going to tackle when you get on the job. So I want to be sure that you are reading, reading, reading. All right, let's roll through this. Group skills for organizational and community change. And again, I'll see about voicing over some of the future PowerPoints as needed, but what I'd really like to do is for you to email me your questions, and then let's talk about that. And if you would like for me to have a deeper discussion, a video about a question, if you'll put that in your email, say something like, Professor Bold, please discuss this in video, or if you want to talk on the phone or whatever, we can do that. Okay. But I want to be sure the whole class benefits from what your question is. So this particular chapter talks about group skills, and one of the first skills that we learn is leadership skills. We have to understand conflict, identifying our targets for change. We need to be able to inspire others. We need to be able to use our assertiveness that we talked about in the last chapter. We've got to be able to employ good communication skills. This is required not just at the micro level, but in a macro sense. You've got to be able to communicate with clients, people in the community, donors, people who care about your cause, people who care about your clients, legislators. You have to have a lot of different communication skills for macro. Um, you also need to be able to lead by example and bring original ideas and solutions to issues. You'll be using yourself. You need to learn to understand the media. You need to learn to manage conflict, which I'll talk in a little more depth here in just a minute. Um, Some of the key highlights here are about networking. I cannot emphasize networking enough. If you get the opportunity to come with me on any kind of event, uh, if it's a fundraiser or if it's a meeting with city council, or I think one of our extra credits is for you to go to a community meeting, anything like that, where you can network yourself and get to know what's going on around you, can be extremely helpful to you personally and professionally and to your clients. There are so many benefits of networking, and the course text goes through each one of the various benefits of networking to clients and how it helps them with resources. It helps you better understand your resources. It can even help you cope with your job. So those are things that you want to be familiar with in the course text and understand why you need to network yourself and be able to network your clients and your organization. They talk about the different types of networks, and networks are interpersonal relationships. That's what a network is. We have social networks, we have social media networks, we have all kinds of Pinterest networks and Twitter, and all of the things that are out there are ways that we relate to each other and to our environment. We've got to understand how a person's network affects their life. We need to be able to understand that our clients have informal networks that greatly impact the resources that they receive before they ever even come to a formal network. The text talks about various issues that happen with networks, and sometimes those have to do with breakdowns in communication, breakdowns in relationships. The other highlight of this chapter is about working in teams. And if any of you chose to work in a team this semester, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're working with more than 2 or 3 people, or with 2 or 3 people, you're in a team and you are part of a team. And as a team, you have to have clear goals. You have to be sure that you're all on the same page with those goals, and you have to make sure that you're all meeting a certain level of standards that you have to each other. You may have one person on your team whose standard is, let's get this done as quickly as possible. You may have another person on your team who says, I think we need to take our time and really explore this. So you got to look at what your team is made of and what that looks like. I'm going to move me down here as I can't tell if you can see me or not. Hi. So we have to have also decision making that is based on good information. It is not okay for a team to get together and just start making stuff up. Now, we can call that brainstorming in one setting, but for the most part, it's important that you have standards and that you have looked at some of the evidence to prove what you're trying to do, or that if you're working on the particular project in this class, your decisions need to be based on data and information that you receive from the community and from people within the community, and you'll learn that as you go along. Part of this is also about planning and conducting meetings in your agency. So let's take just for a minute and think about you being in an agency. Picture yourself in a social service agency where you may or may not be in charge of something, but maybe this time you were asked to conduct a meeting. This happens frequently, so don't think that it won't happen, where you have to actually conduct a meeting, either maybe a board meeting or a staff meeting or a community meeting or something. It's really important that you plan ahead, that you have an agenda, that you know the purpose of that meeting, and that you are understanding exactly what the goal of the meeting is and are able to communicate effectively that and have things in writing. This course text also goes into what a meeting looks like, an official meeting where you have Robert's rules. And if you are not familiar with Robert's rules, this is a great chapter for that. This whole textbook is actually a really great resource to hold on to. So I want to encourage you to do that. Um, but anyway, back to meetings. There's some standards for how a good meeting is actually conducted. I need to move my screen a little bit so that I can see my recording, see how much time. I've got about 5 more minutes here. This goes on to talk a little more about planning and conducting meetings. What I would say is that you read the course text here, and then if you want to come back and review the PowerPoint for the highlights, it gives you use these as tips or a frame of reference for tools in your toolbox for later. Parliamentary procedure. On page 121, the text goes into all of the details of parliamentary procedure, why we use it, why it's important, and also common definitions. Familiarize yourself with this. You will want to know this if you're ever sitting in a meeting and somebody says, well, I move that we do this and I move that we do that, or you may have to vote on some things, policy changes that might be affecting your clients. And that's where you're going to want to know, what is this guy talking about these motions? This course text is one of the best at explaining in detail exactly what things mean. And so I think it's so clear in the text that I'm not going to go through each and every single thing because I would just be reading the text to you. And of course we know I'm not going to do that because you can read the text. So let's move on. I have just a couple more minutes. Conflict is a fact of life. One of the most interesting chapters of this course text is this area on conflict and how to deal with conflict. This can be so helpful to you and to your clients to understand, what do I do when someone is creating a problem, or when I think a problem has been created? How do I deal with these conflicts? How do I talk to somebody about conflict? The book talks about several different types of conflict and what they mean. And there are different types. One thing I love about social work is that we have a name for everything. So it's not just conflict, but there are different types of conflict as well. And each one has a definition that goes with it. Again, there are different types of conflict, ones that have to do with time and space and location. Some conflicts that are just illusions of other people that aren't even true. Some conflicts are placed where someone displaces their anger somewhere else. And as a social worker, you can use your skills to bring that in and bring people together to affect positive change rather than allowing the conflict to keep going. Okay, and I'll let you read for yourself about conflict and its resolution. Oh, here's one thing I definitely wanted to point out. There is a personality quiz here for which personal style you are. This is put together by David Johnson, and it's the animals. I believe there's a lion and a fox and a turtle. Who you go online and you take a quiz, and it'll tell you which character you are, and it's pretty fitting in some cases. So one of your activities this week is to, I believe it might be extra credit, to go on and do the quiz and then let me know what you think you are. So I want to encourage you to complete that. There are some steps in conflict resolution that you need to know. Go ahead and review those. I have about 1 minute left here. And then how to manage conflict with certain strategies that they have. This always reminds me of the Survivor show, but they use these conflict tools a lot on that show. So you will need to use conflict management styles and different strategies for managing when you get into macro social work and when you become a manager of a program, which I know you will. There's some other tactics that people use. I want you to please review that. That is it in a nutshell for this particular chapter. I want to make sure that you understand that